When I read your child, I can't believe that you're sitting here, everything that you've gone through.
Nor can I.
I really can't. But also to have gone through a childhood like you did, but also having, as you say yourself, about a truly narcissistic mother. What impacts that had on you, do you think?
I think what was worse for me, looking back on my life now, was, of course, my childhood was particularly painful, but it was so extraordinary that once everything was resolved, you could leave it in its own box, or more or less leave it in its own box.
So for people that don't know that, just briefly explain what...
Well, I was brought up as a boy, even though I wasn't one, and because I came from a well-known family, my father refused to allow me to have my correct gender because he was afraid of the scandal. But anyway, it was all sorted out. And I mean, it was painful, but it was so extraordinary that you could sort of accommodate it. And also, once it had been resolved...
Do you mean extraordinary that it could accommodate because it was so unusual? The fact that people didn't respond well to you, you understand?
Well, in fact, people did respond very well to it. It's funny. I mean...
What about your mum?
Well, they just somebody's just written a biography of me, which was interesting for me to read. It's called The Lioness Unleashed, I think. Lady C. The Lioness Unleashed. And he makes the point in it of other people, how they were observing what was going on, strangers and people who didn't know me. And I found that very interesting because, of course, I didn't see myself.
But how was your mother? How did your mother treat you through all that?
My mother became a big problem. She was okay while this was going on because my mother was a complete narcissist and she had trained me up. She actually thought it was the best thing since sliced bread because I would be her unpaid companion for the rest of her life.
Right.
And so she was going to use me to be a pair of heirs, is what I used to say. And when, of course, I broke free, then my mother's narcissistic malice came out. And that was really much more difficult to cope with into adulthood. And so ultimately I went into therapy. And I think everybody who has an unbearable burden of pain should go into therapy because you don't want to...
Because you went in at 30, weren't you?
32.
32, when you... So it's not a case of you have to go in at 17, 18.
No.
You know, you can go in any time.
No, I think once you realise that you're carrying around a load of pain that is counterproductive and is affecting your life, I think going to therapy so that you release yourself from the burden of the pain. And you don't want to do it to friends or relations because they're not professionals and they can tell you the wrong thing. And also, you don't want to be a problem bore. You don't want to be poor me and, God, there she comes again with yet her problem. You know, so go to somebody who's competent to relieve the load in a positive way.
Did you take anything... Because you would call yourself a survivor of what happened with you. Do you feel that you took anything from your mother?
Oh, I took some very good things from my mother. My mother, like many narcissists, was absolutely fabulous at first. I mean, everybody here would have thought she was wonderful and charming.
But you said for the first 20 minutes.
For the first 20 minutes, Then, you know, but she certainly gave my brother, my sisters and me great social skills and, you know, so a lot of the packaging was very good.
And also, you're quite formidable.
Yes, and also she gave me, she was what we would call a witch with a bee.
Took me a second to work out what I have now.
And my therapist, because I used to feel slightly guilty about when my lioness roared up, and he said, no, every woman needs to get in touch with her inner W with a B.
For more Loose Women action, click here. And I'd subscribe if I were you. It's totally free and it means you'll be kept up to date with new videos and exclusive YouTube content.